Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a secret message pendant. So I've got some white polymer clay here that's been rolled out on my thickest setting, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over kind of a very light texture, and I've chosen a woven scrapbooking piece. To do that you can use anything that you want really. You can use regular paper if you want, you can use sponges. Just bring something over that has a light texture and just roll that over the surface of your clay, like so, introducing that texture. And I'm going to do that a few times just to make sure that the texture repeats a few times so that it's I don't want a definite pattern, I want it to have kind of mirror images and so on and so forth. Okay. And I'm pretty happy with that. Then I'm going to trim away a large amount of the white clay because we don't need that much. There we go. Then I'm going to just lift that up. Okay, and you can see there hopefully the texture on there, very light. Okay, then I'm going to bring over the alcohol inks that I have chosen. I have chosen to use ginger and caramel of this brand, and later on I'm going to be using espresso. I'm not going to be using that right now, I'm just going to be using the caramel and ginger. Give them a light shake and make sure to open them away from your clay because sometimes the dried ink around the lid can crumble and you don't really want that getting onto your clay. I'm going to just take those, I'm going to kind of splash it across the surface. Like so. Then I'm going to give a light spritz with some isopropyl alcohol. Any strength will work. Then just blow so that it spreads around. Okay, and there we go, that should be the result. Then I'll just use a hairdryer, or you can just leave it to dry, but the hairdryer does speed it up, but you want it to pretty much be dry before you move on to the next step. And there we go, it's pretty much dry. Now I'm going to lift that up and you can see there how it looks. Give the tile a quick clean. Okay. Then I'm going to bring over a piece of greaseproof paper, plain printing paper will also work, and I'm going to flip this upside down, and I am going to just quickly pop this onto the back just to mostly soak up the ink on those edges before I move on to the next step. There we go, so you can see it got rid of a little bit of the excess. Then I want you to bring over the texture from before, and I want you to repeat the process that we did but on the back of the clay, like so. There we go. Then I'm just going to place a piece of paper on the top here, and I'm just going to burnish that over the surface, flattening it out a bit. The reason we did the texture was so that we could get a so that it mainly will affect the alcohol inks. I don't actually want that texture to be too prominent in the finished piece, so I'm giving it a bit of a burnish. I'm going to flip, and I'm going to make sure that I've done it on the other side so that it's relatively flat. If it has some bumps and stuff, that's not too much of a problem, but we don't have to worry about keeping the texture. Just going to lift that up, and that will have picked up any stray alcohol ink, which is something that we do want because we want it to be a pretty much dry surface. Okay, then I'm going to bring over a texture stamp that has writing on it, and I'm also going to bring over a black stays on ink pad. Just open that up, pop that to the side, have it ready though, and just give your stamp a good ink Make sure that it's got a lot on there, like so. And you want to be working relatively quick because the ink does dry quite quickly. Put that to the side, flip this over, place it down, and give it a press. Like so. And lift up. Okay, and you'll see that the impression hasn't left a lot of ink. That's perfectly fine. I want to kind of have a ghost image first, then I'm going to go over with some paint. But first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to burnish this because you will have gotten a bit of a texture there. So just go through and burnish that quickly to remove most of the texture. There we go. Because I'm really going for a worn old letter look here. There we go. And that will have created kind of a ghost image. Okay. Now I've got this silk screen off to the side ready to go. This is a Moiko silk screen. And what I'm going to do is I am going to be painting on oh gosh, I am going to be putting some paint through here. However, I am not going to be applying a huge amount of paint. So I've got some black off to the side. I'm going to pop a little bit down onto the tile, then using a brush, and also where's my cutter, here we go. So this is my cutter that I'm going to be using to cut it out. I'm going to use that to see whereabouts I'm going to want to put the paint through, because I don't want too much writing, because I'm going for a worn look again. So I want it to kind of appear blocky. Okay, so just go in and block that in. Okay, and you want to work relatively quickly because the paint will dry on that screen. And I'm going to grab that and lift that up like so. Clean the silk screen. Okay, so you can see that it looks quite patchy, which is exactly what I want. So then I'm going to bring over the silk screen that I'm going to use, and this is it over here, and we're going to be using this one, but you could use any. So I'll just peel that up. There we go. Let's see, which one were we doing? It's this one. Okay, and I'm just going to hover over the surface, making sure to line it up for the most part. Smooth that over the surface, making sure that it's stuck down well. Using black acrylic paint again. Okay, and then just give it one clean stroke across the surface. Might go over one more time just to make sure. There we go. Then I'm just going to lift this up, and it's stuck to the tile a little bit, which is fine. There we go. Allow that to dry. Okay, and I already like it quite a bit the way it is, so I don't think I'm going to be using the espresso ink after all. So now all that's left to do is to line this up with the cutter, and then press down firmly, like and remove your excess clay. Put that to the side. And just to make sure that it's flat, I will just burnish it like so. And there we go. Then I will lift that off the surface, bring over another piece of paper. And before I set it down, I'll just gently tap along the edges, just because there might be some ragged parts. This will just smooth it down quite a bit. Okay, there we go. Pop that to the side. Okay, just pop that to the side. Bring over another piece of paper, and I'm going to just bring over 3 skewers, which will work fine for our purpose. I'm just going to space those out. Doesn't necessarily have to be even. And I'll use this to visualize whereabouts I want them. Bring this over. Pop them between the pieces. And then I am going to bake it like that. Let me just bring this over and then very gently press that shape in, like so. It doesn't have to be like perfect. What generally can happen is I could bring over, oh gosh, what they call it? I'm going to bring over some wooden rods to weigh it down. There we are, like that. And I don't want it to be too obvious. I just want a very light ripple in the piece. So I will pop this over into the oven for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. And it baking on the should just give it a nice slight ripple, reminiscent of a scroll, for instance. Bake it for a full hour, and then when it's done we can finish up the edges and seal it. Okay, and here is out of the oven now that it has cooled down. So you can see that it does have a slightly rippled effect. If you want to do this, go ahead and do it. It is by no means necessary. So you can do it whether you want to or not. Now I do want to pop some paint along the edges, just because I feel like the white's a little bit stark and it just doesn't look as nice as I would like it. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of black paint. If your edges are rough, give them a sand before doing this. Just a light sand with like 400 grit sandpaper, and this will just allow the paint to go on cleanly. And I'll just tap it on like so. Make sure to rub along the edges just to get rid of any excess that might be there. And go around the edges and then pop it back into the oven for 15 minutes just to heat set the paint. Okay, and there you go. You can see how that's really tidied up the piece and made the whole thing tie together. So now we are going to just quickly drill the top. I've just got a drill over here, and let me just line that up. Drill that in. Okay. And then we'll bring over our bail. Just grab that, pop that in the hole, squeeze shut, and then I'll just use my pliers to squeeze it completely shut. There we go. And if you wanted to seal it, you could, but because we gave the paint a bake, and because the alcohol ink has basically been sealed in there, we really don't have to seal it. You can if you want to, but I really do want to keep this pure matte finish. Then I'm just going to pop that onto a simple rubber cord. Doesn't need to be anything complicated. And there we go. That's basically it for the project. Very easy, but it looks quite effective. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below, and if you would like to support this channel so I can continue doing videos just like this one every week, please do consider becoming a patron or a member of this channel. There's a link to patron in the description below, and there's also a link to becoming a member on YouTube, and every one of those is greatly appreciated. If you would like to support in a different way, buying tools off of the shop at Jessima Design on Etsy, that also really helps a lot as well. I sell my cutters and silk screens and various other tools on there as well. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.